All right, welcome everybody. I'm here with Kyler Kerbyson, and we're going to talk a little bit about Ole Miss and Tennessee this weekend. It's kind of become a little bit more interesting with the news that Tyon Evans is probably going to miss, because honestly, that was concerning me. But with him being out, I am feeling a little bit better about the game. What else are you hearing real quick off the top, Kyler?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on. I love the fact that we get to play this game. I think this is almost long overdue to have, Kiffin as a head coach back in Neyland. So I'm very excited for that. It does. Honestly, as a Tennessee guy, as a Tennessee fan, it sucks that Tyon Evans isn't going to be out there. He's obviously a very dynamic playmaker and someone that can make a huge difference for us. And we were kind of chatting beforehand. I just really hope that some of the younger guys can step up in his place with Whitehead and Jalen Wright, just be able to keep the defense honest. If anything, obviously Tyon is a guy who can break the big long runs, who can break some tackles, get some yards. But if one of those guys can get us a consistent 3 to 4 yards rushing every play, then I'm happy. I'm fine with it, because that can help our offense stay balanced and help us take shots downfield. So that's all I'm really concerned about. I don't need them to be the best of the best. I just need to be all right.
Yeah, and let's see. I think they played in 2014 last, 2009 before that, or 2010, before that 2009. Before that, 2004. They played 4 times this millennium. And a series that up until 90 or 91, until it broke into divisions, the two teams played every year. This is a rival. I know it's not going to change when Texas and Oklahoma comes in the game, but this is a game that should be played every year.
I would love it. Honestly, I like more competition. I almost get tired of the fact that we have to play the number 1 team in the nation every year from the West.
We do that.
Yeah. I just sometimes I'm like, I really wish we could get someone else. And it does seem like when our other West opponent is always having the best year that they've had in a while. We played Auburn whenever they went to the national championship. It's like whenever we played Arkansas when they were first coming up, back when Sam Pittman was the O-line coach, and it's just you're hitting on those teams when they're at their best. But if Lane Kiffin stays as a head coach with you guys for a while, I would not mind having him and competing against him, and just those juices that flow with fans and love-hate relationship with Kiffin, it makes a very compelling story.
Speaking of which, how big is this game on Rocky Top? I mean, I don't really get a feel of it. It feels like y'all are treating it like a very big game. Is that true?
Oh, that's definitely true. So really, with the offseason that we had, the firing of a coach, the trying to find an AD, the trying to find a head coach, the transfers leaving, 3 wins last year, Tennessee fans are dying for something positive. And what we've seen the last 2 weeks in the South Carolina and the Missouri game have really given hope to these fans. And it's a reason why Neyland was sold out by Wednesday. This is a big deal for us. And I tried to give people perspective on my podcast earlier in the week and say, hey, look, if we lose this game, it's okay. It doesn't mean Coach Heupel's a bad coach. It doesn't mean that he's wrong for our program. It means Ole Miss is in a good spot and they're a good team. So don't take it as that. But a lot of people are putting their, hopes into this game to show, hey, Tennessee can be back. It can be where it wants to be. It can be where everybody else wants it to be. So this is definitely a bigger game than maybe even, ESPN or anybody outside of Ole Miss and Tennessee realize.
Yeah, it seems like a big deal. And you talk about the other teams popping up whenever you play them. I just remember Wake Forest in the back-to-back years we played them, like they went to the ACC championship game. It's like Wake Forest. How does that happen? It's absolutely crazy.
It's the worst. Sometimes the luck is just what really gets you. And it's so funny. Like I was talking about earlier with my co-host, is there's certain SEC teams that just have the numbers of others. Like Florida has our number. It doesn't matter if we're a better team or worse team. When Florida won 4 games, probably 6-7 years ago, we still lost to them. It didn't matter. And then I always feel like Kentucky has Florida's number, where Kentucky, it's either they beat them like they did this year, or it's close. It's always close, even when Kentucky was bad. And it's just weird stuff like that. Ole Miss has Alabama's number. I don't know what it is about the SEC, but just sometimes teams don't give a crap about the other team and can really compete with them, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has Ole Miss's number. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. That's the team that always sneaks up on Ole Miss. And also, Dan Mullen at Florida with Kentucky has ruined my favorite joke of all time, and that joke was the Atlantic will beat Florida before Kentucky does. and Dan Mullen screwed that joke up for everybody.
He did. He very much did.
Yeah. So, give me some players to watch in this game. For people that are new to Tennessee, y'all had so many players go out in the offseason.
Yes.
Give me some players to look at that we might not be thinking about.
So our wide receiving core has been outstanding this year. They're one of the reasons why our offense has been so good, so dominant over these past few games. So the Jalen Hyatts, the Velus Jones Jr., the Tillman, Fant he's a tight end for us. Jacob Warren, a tight end for us. That receiving core, the guys catching the ball, have really made a difference in this offense. So definitely looking for them. On the defensive side of the ball, we just learned that we lost Juwan Mitchell for the year, so that does stink in the linebacker position. But some of our DBs have really stepped up. Theo Jackson is a guy I am honestly shocked. I did not expect this kind of production out of him, and the stuff that he's been able to do on the field is incredible. Defending the run, defending the pass, they have this hybrid nickel position that he plays, and it just sets him up to wreak havoc, which I'm loving. I'm loving the defense and the way that they're playing, because in no way did I expect this at all. Going into the season, it was Heupel. He's an offensive mind. We're losing so many guys on the defense. Our middle linebacker leader in To'o, the defense seemed like our biggest weakness that we could have. We were so thin at linebacker, and they've just completely surprised me. The way they've stepped up, the way that they're playing, the way that they're stopping the run, their tackles for loss, that it's honestly the reason why we are a winning team right now, why we're 4-2 and don't have more losses, is because of the way this defense is played. Even though offense is the flashy part, right? Offense is what gets everybody excited, but sometimes you need a good defense to really make your team whole.
Yeah, and you guys have this weird thing going to where y'all are essentially winning games in the first quarter, and then it becomes kind of a struggle the rest of the way. By the time the other team figures out what's going on with y'all's tempo, which we see that from time to time as well, but by the time they see your tempo there, I mean, the game's already over. There's no way you're going to come back on these guys, and it's just about holding on. So 28-0 at the end of the first quarter becomes 45-20, and South Carolina won for 3 quarters and looked good towards the end of the game, but they had no chance to get back in it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we can hold off a first quarter, get up on those teams, and I'm happy, because in the past that wasn't the case. My last year at Tennessee in 2015, our 4 losses, we were leading late in the games. Lost to Oklahoma, we were leading 17-3 at one point. Lost to Alabama, we were leading 14-13 in the fourth quarter. Lost to Florida, we were up by 13 points in the fourth quarter.
Was that one of the Hail Mary games?
No, that was we were down 13, Florida had 2 consecutive drives where they scored a touchdown. They converted a 4th and 13. It was like a hitch route on the sidelines. The guys came back at 15 yards, caught the ball. We missed a tackle, and he took it to the end zone.
Yep.
So yeah, that was very tough. But that happened multiple times to Tennessee fans where we had the lead, we had the game in hand, and we just gave it away. So that still makes us nervous. And after this past week, people were very concerned that we only scored 1 touchdown in the second half. Our defense let up 2 scores in the second half. It was, hey, what's going on? Are they not making the right adjustments? Like, is Heupel not really understanding what's going into the game plan? But I saw it as, listen, when you scored 38, what you're supposed to be doing. Like, keep doing what you're doing. It's going great. There's the other team's adjustments. Like, after they come out of halftime, they do some stuff. Now you're adjusting off of them. The fake punt touchdown. It was about 140 yards of offense for South Carolina. Did I think, we let off, we put the brakes on. We weren't really trying anything. And I'm happy to see that that's not the case with Heupel like it has been with previous head coaches.
Yeah, I think Heupel is absolutely the right guy on Rocky Top. He seems to be pushing the right buttons. Finally, I think the problem that y'all had up there is they kept trying to recreate Philip Fulmer. Trying to rebuild Philip Fulmer. And every team that has a dominant head coach falls into that trap. Alabama's going to fall into that trap when Saban leaves. So, I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody does it. Ole Miss did that after Johnny Vaught, and they still haven't dug completely out of it. But
it's true.
And I just think Heupel's the right guy if you will leave him alone and let him do what he needs to do and let him recruit to what he does.
Yeah, I've felt strongly about this because when I played, I was there for Dooley and Butch, so I was part of the firing of a coach and part of the hiring of a coach, and after I left, seeing the demise of Butch Jones and how it went down so fast, and it's kind of crazy because I think Lane Kiffin, in the way he is now, is a lot better of a head coach than when he was at Tennessee, based off his experiences, right? Like he got more knowledgeable in the game. He came to understand what he needs to do. He grew up a little bit, which is more mature. So that all that kind of stuff was good for him. And at that moment, losing a legend like Philip Fulmer, you really think okay, Lane Kiffin can really turn this around. He can be a coach that we need moving forward. He can recruit his ass off and do such a good job with that. It was a great hire, but he had plans for USC. And that it was
his dream job.
Yeah, and that really just set Tennessee back a lot. That in and of itself set us back a lot, where we're still, trying to find that coach, trying to make that, next leap or get back to where we were. And there are times where I feel like if we weren't in the SEC, if we weren't who we were, we would keep a coach for longer and he would have success. Some of these Big Ten teams, they can keep a coach for 30 years and he has 2 10-win seasons and he's good to go.
Yeah.
There's
the country right now.
Yeah, exactly. Iowa is a prime example of that, where when they went 4-8, back in 2006, they would have been fired in the SEC. There's no way he would have lasted in the SEC, and that's just such a blessing for coaches. I don't even think they realize that. Is if you're an offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, and you're going to be a head coach, you're trying to get your first head coaching job, do not do in the SEC. Do not pull a Jeremy Pruitt. Go to the Pac-12. Go to the Big Ten. Go to the ACC. You can build your resume up. Do what you need to do. If you lose 7 games for 3 years in a row, you're still got your job. Scott Frost will be at Nebraska for 20 years. Even if he's average at best, that guy goes 7-5 every year. He's still going to be there. He played there before. He had success at UCF. It's just like it's not as big of a deal in some instances in the northern states like it is down here in the South.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, I always like to joke about this, but Tennessee and Nebraska, you never see them in the same room at the same time. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You could honestly, you could throw Michigan in there too.
And Miami.
Yeah, and Miami. Yeah, and Miami.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar. It does feel like something happens in like the early 2000s to just put us both off the beaten path. I'm not sure what it is. The amount of hope I have that we can get back, I hope that the same thing for Nebraska, the same thing for Michigan. I hope they can get back. My dad grew up in Michigan. He's from Michigan. He's a big Michigan fan. So that was part of me, and it's kind of sad that both of those teams have not been where they're used to being. At one point, we're the most winningest programs in the nation, and it's just fallen off. It's not the same, but I have hope because I truly believe that any given Saturday, any team can win. Proof last week with Texas A&M over Alabama. Nobody gave them a shot. They just lost to Mississippi State. There's no way in heck they're going to win this game, but they pulled it out. They beat the unbeatable. So that's why I think at any moment we could get back to the days of old, the days of glory.
Yeah, and we've been trying to do that for about 40 years at this point. So we had a couple of in 2014, 2015. I mean, we were pretty good then, but then the NCAA was, we beat Alabama twice. All of a sudden, the NCAA is at your door. So it's weird how that happens.
When you win 3 games and then get the number 1 recruiting class, it's a little fishy.
Hey, we just targeted the right players.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Hugh Freeze had a let's just say he knew how to massage the situation.
That's a great word for it. Yeah, I'll say that for sure.
So this is the way I see this going in the first quarter. If Ole Miss comes into the game, let's say Tennessee gets out to a fast start and Ole Miss is able to trade punches with them, and it turns into like a 21-14 game. Leader either way, that's advantage Ole Miss later in the game. When the depth wears down for Tennessee, which it always does, the athletes are going to be able to take over. The problem for Ole Miss will be trying to play catch up against a team that's up 21-0. If their defense come out and play really well, that could be a problem for Lane Kiffin and the boys.
Yeah, I think Lane Kiffin's biggest thing is what fourth down plays does he have. Because I think that's what set you guys behind the 8 ball versus Bama. I mean, if you convert some of those fourth downs that he was going for in the first quarter, that's a completely different game. Bama feels different at that moment when you guys got some scores on the board. So we talked about it on my podcast. I'm just like, our defense has to make some stops and has to possibly cause some turnovers and be okay with letting up 40 points because it will happen. I mean, this is the number 2 offense in the nation. It's going to happen. You have to just have that in the back of your mind. It's okay if they score. We just have to stop them a couple times, give our offense the ball back a couple times, and we should be okay. And, just don't let them score easy. I think you guys are going to test our DBs a lot. It's what you love to do. Matt Corral right now is a Heisman favorite.
Yeah, he's the best player in college football.
Yeah, I mean, and we're lucky enough that we went against another Heisman favorite in Kenny Pickett earlier this year. So we're just picking all the Heisman favorites. Come play us, please. But
you know what my favorite joke is this year, and it's gone away as well. It is, if you need Joe Milton to throw the ball 40 yards, he can throw the ball 40 yards. If you need Joe Milton to throw the ball 30 yards, he can throw it 40 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That is very true. Hey, every Tennessee fan is right there with you. I am just very happy we were able to find Hooker and get him into that position. And it makes me feel with the success he's had that, honestly, if he would have started that Pitt game, played the entire game, it might have been a different scenario. We might have won that. We might have been ranked coming into this 5-1, only lost to Florida. It would have maybe made a college game day or something, especially with the history with Lane. But yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with the Joe Milton thing. I'm happy that we have a coach that is competent enough to understand quarterback play, because that was our biggest thing. Yeah, it's not gonna happen when a guy turns the ball over 4 times a game. He shouldn't be your starting quarterback. And that was something we didn't have last year. So I'm very happy to see that, even if it's just that. I'm more happy than I was last year.
What's the story on Harrison Bailey?
That I don't know. So I know Harrison has the talent. I know that he has the arm. I've seen it in multiple occasions. I just don't think he has the maturity yet. And I mean, when you really look at it, this is, 2 different coaching staffs, a couple different offensive coordinators that have decided Harrison Bailey isn't the number 1 guy. So if that's the case, then yes, maybe he isn't the number 1 guy. Tennessee fans are dying to see him out in the field, dying to see what he can do. But sometimes a guy's not ready. I mean, I didn't start until my 4th year at Tennessee. Sometimes you're just not ready. You got to put more reps in at practice. You got to understand the game better, and you can get to where you need to be. I just hope that Harrison can understand his value, understand that working hard to get where he needs to be is a good thing, and not say, well, deuces, I'm out of here, I'm transferring. In some ways, the transfer portal is great. In other ways, it's not. It's showing guys that they can quit and be okay, which I hate. I would rather you put in the work, put in the effort, show me what you can do and compete. So I honestly just hoping Harrison has that mindset also and continues to stay with Tennessee, because that's the way Alabama has gotten so successful. Nick Saban now sells these guys as, hey, look, you might not play when you first get here, but I guarantee you 2 years of starting, and in those 2 years, you're going to get enough film, you're going to win a national championship, and you're going to get drafted because of those 2 years. And you don't need to worry about the other 2 or the other 3 that you might play or might not play, because that'll be enough for you to get drafted. And he does it. He does it every time. So I'm just hoping we can get to that point where guys, okay, let me just stay here. I can start for 2 years and still get drafted and still be a good player and still, be a whatever college you're at legend. You don't need to start all 4 years. I mean, Mac Jones is a perfect example of that. 1 year starting, 1 year playing, and he's a first-round quarterback.
Well, also, if Harrison, nice little contribution or comparison to Harrison Bailey is Matt Corral, honestly. He came in and started a brawl as a true freshman against Mississippi State. He made up plays, whatever was called, he wouldn't run it. He ended up losing his job to John Rice Plumlee as a sophomore. He didn't transfer to Oregon. Kiffin got a hold of him. The rest is history. Yeah.
It just shows that sometimes you put your head down and just work and just look inside and be like, hey, I messed up here. I didn't do a good job in this scenario, and I can be better. And it works out for you. It's not always everyone else's fault. Sometimes you really got to look in the mirror and understand your weaknesses, because there's no way that you're going to grow if you don't.
Yeah, and you'll be able to watch Matt Corral Saturday and just look at that and then picture him and Josh Heupel's offense and see what that offense could look. Because Matt Corral's special, man.
He definitely is.
That guy's a dude.
You guys got a good one. I definitely am jealous. He he's not here. I think Heupel tried to grab as many quarterbacks as he possibly could to get some competition in that room. Just like, hey, please just compete with each other. We'll see who turns out to be the best. Lane did a good job grabbing him up first.
How bad was of a practice player must have been Hendon Hooker to lose that job at the beginning of the year?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes
what?
I don't get it. Sometimes I think certain guys are better or worse practice players. I think an example when I was playing was Nathan Peterman. Great practice player. Made all the throws at practice, did all the things right. But there's a difference in the game. When he got his first start, we're down in the swamp in Florida. He was calling the wrong plays. He was fumbling the snap. It was just, it was a travesty. And it's just when you get in that atmosphere, everyone's screaming at you. The rush is a lot faster. They can actually hit you. You don't have a red jersey on anymore. It's a little different for guys. But I don't think Hendon was doing a bad job because I went to a couple practices, went to one in spring and one in fall camp. I never thought, he was doing bad per se, but Joe just looked the part. When you really looked at him, he commanded the offensive line. He was a leader out there on the practice field. He was making the throws and even the deep ones. He's had trouble now, but it didn't seem like a question. It seemed like he was the bona fide starter, and I don't know if it's adrenaline. I don't know if it's just something that overcomes him once he got in the game and just started throwing lasers 60 yards. And it's just like, bro, if you get air underneath that, you'll be okay.
Just calm down. It's going to be okay. And also, it could be 3rd and 3. It's a quarterback run, and then a yard away from the first down, he tries to go around a defender instead of through him, and he's 250 pounds.
Yes. We made the same comparison. Like, you're way too big to try and juke and spin and make moves on guys. You need a stiff arm and you need a truck stick, and that's all you need. You need 2 buttons on your controller from NCAA. Like, don't try and do all this crazy stuff. I compared it to Derrick Henry in the way that Derrick Henry runs. He never jukes anybody out. He never tries to spin off tackles. It's either I'm going forward, I'm stiff arming you, I'm just trying to get downhill and get some speed on you. But something he does is instead of taking on the safety straight head to head, he'll just move over a good foot. So instead of the safety getting his shoulder into his thigh, he just gets his arm into his thigh. And that safety's going to miss that tackle 9 times out of 10 versus a 250-pound running back. So that was the same comparison. Like, listen, Joe, you're huge, man. None of these DBs, linebackers are barely even your size. Use that to your advantage. I never understood where this slow down juke was coming from. It's like me trying to juke out there. I can't do that.
The guy's 180 pounds and a cornerback from Bowling Green. Run over him.
Exactly. It's because you're trying to juke and you're all off balance on your back foot, and someone just lays you out.
Absolutely crazy. All right, how do you see this game going, man?
Oh, I honestly, even though I believe in our defense and I want them to do well, I honestly see this as a shootout. I see this as the kind of game you guys had last week with Arkansas, where it's just touchdown, 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 back and forth all game. I'm just honestly hoping that, like I said, we can get a couple stops, maybe a couple turnovers, and make it to where we have more possessions than y'all. That is literally the key to the game. Whoever has more possessions is going to win this game, and I'm hoping that we can pull that out and be able to control. I think we really do have a good chance of beating you guys, even though you are ranked above us. You've gotten some good wins under your belt, but the sold-out stadium being at Neyland is a great advantage to us and can hopefully get to Matt Corral, the Heisman leader right now, and just make him a little bit uncomfortable.
Are you concerned at all about this being the first return to glory game at Neyland and the players being a little bit too up?
I don't know, because in some instances I felt when I was playing that we had our best game when Neyland was rocking. When it was, hey, this is the big game of the year. And also, these guys, a lot of the starters that we have been here for 6 months. They don't even really know Tennessee football. They don't even really know what a sold-out stadium is like. You know, when you come in as a freshman, you don't play, but you get to see it, you get to experience it, you get to understand what this fandom really is. Get you kind of ready for that. But now this is literally the first time for a lot of them. Some of them, transferring from ACC and Big Ten schools. It's not the same. I'm telling you. Even if Penn State and the Big House, they can fit over 100,000. I will never think it's the same as an SEC game. Any stadium in the SEC, you go to the Death Valley in LSU, you go to Bryant-Denny, you go to the Swamp, you come to Neyland. It is just different, man. It is different. You cannot explain it. You can't put it into words. It is just a different animal. And I'm really hoping that can be the advantage for us in this game.
All right. And before I let you go and we end this, if you win the toss, you take the ball or you go 2 for 1 at halftime?
Ooh, see, I'm not much of a betting man, so I'm probably going to defer and go to half. I don't like to call out things before the game starts, like Lane Kiffin, and try and take advantage of that. Now, Heupel might take that ball just to try and get up, first touchdown. But like I said, it's all whoever has the most possessions. I would defer to halftime, knowing that both teams are going to score, knowing that both teams could be in the 20s to 30s before halftime gets there. I mean, it is very possible. There is a reason why this over-under, the last time I looked, was 82.5. I don't know. It's probably gone up since then. There's a reason for that.
Have you guys played a game like this under Josh Heupel? This is becoming old hat for us.
This is exactly up your alley. You guys, this is the exact game you always have. Yeah. I would say the Pitt game was the closest one, but that even going into it, we didn't know that was the way it was going to be. We didn't think it was going to be a shootout. Going into the season, I really compared us to you guys last year, where it's all offense, it's no defense. We're just going to try and outscore everybody, and hopefully we can win some games. Before the season, I said we'd win 5 games total as my prediction. So having 4 under our belt and having the offense we have, I'm so happy right now.
With Vandy and USA on the schedule.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we can go to a bowl game, which I didn't even think was possible his first year. But, yes, in what you're saying, you guys have a lot more experience in these kind of games than this team does. Now, maybe if the guys that were on the team hadn't left, I could say they have experience in possible scenarios where it is a fourth quarter battle and you got to score it, to get back in the game and all that kind of stuff. But everyone's new here. This is a completely new team, and they have not experienced, anything like the Arkansas game you guys had last week or some of these shootouts you've been in.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, is there any hard feelings toward Henry Torto up there?
I don't know. In some instances, I'm like, hey, let bygones be bygones. But I hate Alabama, so I want to watch them lose as much as possible. So that means I want to watch Henry Toto lose. Like, sorry you went to our rival, bud. Like, people aren't going to like you when you're there. And, you know, there's some instances where I watch and I'm like, yeah, you didn't cover that slant at Tennessee either, bud. So, like, good luck trying to cover it at Bama.
He's a liability in the RPO game. If y'all can run the ball on him a little bit, there's a chance you can do some work. That's the honest to God truth.
I'm hoping that our guards and centers having to go against him in practice know all of his little inklings of what he does and the way he leans towards one side and how he takes on blocks and can just absolutely crush him and take advantage of it. I really hope that's the case. But I completely agree with you. Watching the Bama games, like, he is someone who will fall for the run. He is someone who will, almost over-anticipate and jump to a gap that's not even his and block himself. It's like you make it easy on offensive linemen. Like, I wish linebackers were doing that when I was playing. Like, please, take yourself out of it. I'm not even worried about you anymore. So I definitely agree. I think the run game is what really makes our offense go, even though the explosive pass plays are what everyone sees and all the touchdowns that we get. It's the run game. It's the setting up. And, like, Brandon Staley said, the head coach for the Chargers, where he's like, listen, the run game, it's not to get yards. It's not always like that. It's literally just to remind the defense we're playing a physical sport. This isn't just, pin your ears back and run. We're hitting you. You're feeling that pressure. You're feeling the strength of this team. So it's always very important to run the ball as an offensive lineman. I might be a little biased, and some people might think so, but I think running the ball cures everything.
Oh, yeah. At Ole Miss, we have the best player in college football playing quarterback. We run the ball 60 to 65% of the time. Yeah. That's what people don't know about Ole Miss, and you're going through probably the same thing. You guys run the ball 70% of the time this year.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, and people think, oh, they're air raid, they're doing what Mike Leach does. No, we threw the ball 21 times last week.
Yeah, exactly. The Mike Leach system is the one that doesn't work. I know Mississippi State might be on the cusp of being something, 3-2 team. They're not quite there yet, but when I look at those stats and I see 58 pass attempts, in no way do I think a team can win like that. There's no possible way. You have to be in some sort of balance, even if you're gaining 2 yards a run. You still got to be some kind of balance.
Yeah, it feels like their ceiling in the SEC is somewhere around 7-5, 8-4.
Yes.
Even if they're unbelievably elite.
Yeah, I think you guys are gonna be really happy at that Egg Bowl at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think so. We got, especially that drop 8 system. That's Mike Leach's kryptonite to begin with.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested about that. The weakness of the drop 8 that we run, that you could see, and they will see if they looked at the film against Arkansas, is directly off tackle. So bounce zone plays inside that bounce a little bit outside. That becomes a weakness because our box safeties are 180 pounds, 200 pounds going against tight ends and tackles and all that. So it becomes a little bit difficult. So we have to tackle very well. But I expect the run game for Tennessee to feature prominently.
Yeah, when you take some defensive linemen out of the game, it makes it where offensive linemen get to block your small guys. And that's not what you want. It's a lot easier for us to do that, especially when you know exactly where the ball's going. You know the running back's just going to wait for you to make that block, and he doesn't have to worry about, he just runs off of your butt. You can very much take advantage of that 3-8 defense.
Yeah. Oh, and also it looks like Jake Springer is going to be back this week, by the way, who went out against Louisville. Whenever he's in the game, the defense plays more like a 3-3 stack than a 3-2-6.
Gotcha.
So the defense might look a little bit more formidable this week, is my point on that.
Hey, we will see. We will see. It's.
My brother-in-law is a UTK grad. He went to the law school out there. Actually,
Perfect. My wife went to UT Law, so yeah.
Yeah, he went to Tennessee Tech for undergrad, but he's going to be in the other room watching the games. Just go in there.
I can't handle you in here, man. No way.
We can't handle it. But anyway, have a lot of fun. I hope you guys stay safe, and I hope Neyland rocks and everybody has fun. But I hope you lose the game. I hope you pick up that big win against Alabama.
Of course.
But I appreciate you coming by, Kyler.
Listen, man. If we can get a win versus Bama, I'll take a loss versus y'all.
Yeah, I want you to.
That means then I'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah, go 3-1 in this next stretch with a loss to Ole Miss. That's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm completely fine with that.
All right, bud. Thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me.
All right.